The end is finally here. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is Leo's Nerd Talk, and today we're going to be going over the finale of Stranger Things Season 5. Hi, my name is Leo, and if you guys have time with movie, TV show, video game related, or just anything nerdy, you are in the right place. And like I said, today we're talking about the finale of Stranger Things Season 5. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Now, I was lucky enough to secure some tickets to go watch the finale in the movie theaters, which is an awesome experience. It was a packed house, completely sold out movie theater. The audience was amazing, bunch of cheering, clapping. It was a great experience to see this movie in theaters. I had a lot of fun. I'm so happy that I was able to get these tickets because they were very hard to get. Because of course, there's a lot of Stranger Things fans out there, and these tickets were selling out quick. But I was able to get some good tickets with really good seats, and yeah, it was just a very fun experience. Now, I was a little worried going into this finale because seemingly this season has felt a little weird in terms of the pacing and where things were going. Things seem to be a little bit rushed, a lot of expedition dumps, a lot of new explanations and reveals of how things work or what things are. It felt like they were really rushing everything in this last season, but I felt like this finale really landed the plane. And we'll get into everything since this is a only one episode. I'm going to do my traditional review kind of structure where I'll go over my pros, I'll go over my cons, but this will be a spoiler review. An episode like this and a show like this is very hard to talk about without going into spoilers, but I will give you my brief review of the show before we get into full-on spoilers. But before we go into everything Stranger Things finale, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know what you guys thought about the finale in the comment section down below. What did you guys think about season 5 as a whole? Are you guys a fan of it? And are you guys fans of Stranger Things as a whole? I know this show has been pretty known for in the last couple of months to be a show to hate. Everyone's trying to make it seem like this show doesn't matter no more. It's took too long. No one cares about it. But from what I've seen, there's a lot of people that still care. Packed house of theaters all over the country for this finale. So this is still a ginormous topic of discussion. So definitely let me know how you guys feel about Stranger Things as a whole. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into my brief little review of the show without spoilers. So I thought the Duffer Brothers absolutely landed this plane. I thought that the emotions that they brought to this episode was absolutely great. Many great performances, but while there are still some things where I felt like were a little weird, certain dialogue deliveries that felt a little choppy or emotionless, but overall I thought the emotion was very high. There's a lot of moments where my eyes kind of got watery. There's for sure a tear brought to my eye. And you have very epic moments. You have a really great epic final battle that I thought was absolutely excellent, except for one certain portion of it, which we'll get into, of course, in more detail. And overall, I think the way they ended this show, the end of this series, was very satisfying. Where, again, this series or this season has felt very rushed and very expedition dump heavy and very explanation heavy, where it just seemed like there was so much information getting piled upon us in just a couple of episodes, and all of us kept wondering, how are they going to finish this off when all this new information has just landed on our plate? And I felt like they did a fantastic job. They found a way to 100% land this plane, 100% leave us off with a satisfying note, where I left the theater extremely happy, and I felt like this show solidified itself as one of the greatest shows of all time. With that being said, let's go ahead and get straight into my pros, and this will now be your official spoiler warning. But I found that this episode, again, was absolutely amazing. I thought it was really great, the little idea that they did, and it ended up working pretty well. There was a certain moment as well where it seemed like it was not going to go so well, and they kind of hit you with a little pump fake, which was very easily detected. A lot of people in the theaters did not really seem that way. Everyone felt like this was really going to happen or whatever, because there was a lot of like screams and emotions being shown during the theater. But it was essentially Steve almost falling off the satellite tower or the radio tower. So they hit you with a little pump fake, the screen goes to black, and Steve almost falls off the satellite tower as the abyss is coming down onto Earth, crashing into the Squawk satellite tower as they're trying to get into the abyss or dimension X. So I knew right off the bat, I was like, oh, this is a fake out. This is not. But I thought that was still a great little moment because you have Jonathan saving Steve's life from falling off the tower, and you have a little nice little moment with them between them a little bit later on where they're talking to each other, saying how they still don't really like each other, but they really respect each other, and you can definitely see that little bit of friendship starting to build. So I really like that kind of set off their friendship and wasn't just so much of a rivalry between, always fighting over Nancy. It's starting to become more of a friendly banter and a friendly, friendship. So I thought that was really nice as well. You have, of course, Eleven trying to get into the mind of Vecna, which she successfully does, and they end up, for the most part, at the beginning saving the kids, but things end up happening. Well, yeah, they do get into Vecna's mind. They break the bind and the spell, so the abyss is no longer coming down. Which I thought that was a really cool sequence as well of how they're trying to show the kids that Henry Creel is the bad guy, where they use Kali's kind of powers to make the room look invisible, as if the kids already escaped, and have 11 go face to face with Henry Creel to kind of prove to everybody that he is the monster, he is the bad guy. It isn't Max. So I thought that was a very cool little sequence there as well. But Vecna, Henry Creel uses, the Hopper against themselves and basically shows Hopper what Eleven's plan is of killing herself to destroy the Upside Down. And Hopper gets a little upset. He ends up firing his gun and shoots 11 by accident. So we think. And it was all just in his head. Vecna was using him, and it kind of causes the whole kids escaping plan to kind of fail a little bit, not completely disastrous, but 11, Max, and Kali all leave the mind of Vecna, and it's all up to Holly at this point to help all the kids escape, which I thought that was really cool as well, where they've already been giving Holly so much main character energy here. Might as well let her lead this pack and finish off this show with her saving the kids and her kind of redeeming herself within the kids, because all the kids were very mean to her in Vecna's mind, saying that she's working with the monster and she's going against someone that wants to save the world. But now they all seem to really like her, really care for her, and they all become really good friends. So it was very nice to see kind of Holly fully come circle and be the hero that Mike always told her that she can be. So that was very nice as well to see, even though there was a little bit of drama of thinking that 11 got shot and possibly could die. It was still nice to see Holly kind of come full circle and become the hero and able to save all the kids as well. And then a little bit after this, we do get a pretty dramatic scene where we get the military catching up with people at the Hawkins lab in the Upside Down. And through a sequence of events, Kali gets shot and seemingly dies. So that is our one big death in this show. Besides another one that can be interpreted a little bit differently, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I knew coming into this episode that Kali would die. That's something that I felt like was going to happen. It seemed pretty obvious that that's the route that they were going, that they weren't really going to kill off any of the main cast, but they were going to kill off Kali. I figured that they weren't going to pull the trigger and kill anybody off. At this point, it was already too late to bring huge emotions like this. You needed to leave this show very satisfying. And I felt like if you brought a lot of deaths to a lot of the main characters, it wouldn't leave it as satisfying as the way they did now, where there is a certain death that is can be interpreted in any other way. But I think the way they made that interpretation where you can really make up your own mind of what you really think happened, I think it leaves it in a very satisfying way. But essentially, Kali does pass away, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to see it, because I didn't really enjoy her character that much in this season. But she does pass away, and that is a very emotional moment for 11, and that's kind of her leading herself to speak with Hopper and tell her that she's no longer a kid, she can make her own decisions, and her going up into the abyss to fight Henry once and for all. And while we're up there, I really enjoyed the final battle, essentially, where Henry and the Mind Flayer kind of awaken, and the giant tower or claw thing that you see that Henry has been in where the kids are at, that turns into a ginormous kaiju battle, Mind Flayer fight. And at first I wasn't too sure how to feel about it, but I do really like that battle. I think that it had a really good action sequence. They really worked around and worked together to fight this mind flayer. I thought that was probably the best part of that. It's been such a long time where we've seen the entire crew coming in together to do one singular task. So it was very nice to see, Nancy become a badass. You have the rest of the crew ambushing the mind flayer from the top and the bottom, using flamethrowers, stabbing it. And because the mind flayer is connected to the hive mind, all the damage they're doing to the mind flayer connects to Vecna. So he's feeling all the pain while 11 is inside the mind flayer fighting Vecna one-on-one. So I thought that was extremely epic, absolutely awesome. And then you also have Will, who is able to connect to the hive mind and help 11 fight Vecna, from a distance. And he, again, another awesome moment where he snaps his arm. 11 pushes Vecna back, stabs him right through the heart. Absolutely amazing moment. They finally kill the mind flayer, super epic. And then you have an amazing emotional moment, probably the first moment where I kind of teared up, where you have Joyce basically telling Vecna, you fucked with the wrong family, and she chops the head off of Vecna, Henry Creel. But with every slash, it cuts from person to person, and it shows their biggest emotional moment of what Vecna did to them, what Vecna did to their life. How did he just had so much destruction in every single one of these characters' lives. And so I thought that was a very amazing moment for Joyce, a very amazing moment for everybody to just have that satisfying death of Vecna. And it was, for me, one of the best moments in this episode, one of the best moments of the show, just kind of seeing that satisfying ending of Vecna finally getting his comeuppance, because I was worried that they were going to give him a redemption arc, and it seemed like they were leading that way, but Henry Creel cut that off and said, no, I don't, the mind flayer never, controlled me. The mind flayer was never telling me what to do. I wanted to do this because the mind flayer showed me the truth. So Henry Creel was evil. He wasn't really being controlled. So with that, since there is no official redemption arc, it is satisfying to see him finally kind of get his comeuppance, and having Joyce do that and showing all these moments throughout the show of what Vecna caused to these people's lives was absolutely very satisfying. I also thought the actor that played Henry Creel was absolutely amazing. The emotion that he brought to this, very, very intense, it's really well performed, in just the facial features, his eyes, the way he looks, the way he just emotes. Amazing performance from him. I thought he had just a stand-up performance as Henry Creel, as Vecna. I've enjoyed him this entire show, but this final episode I thought was just one of his best works that he has done in this show, and it was just absolutely amazing, so intense. And seeing going through his little background and seeing his little journey and them trying to kind of do a redemption arc was very emotional, but also just creepy and scary to see where his mindset was and where the mind flayer kind of led him to be. So I thought his performance was just absolutely amazing. I very, very much enjoyed him. Everybody's performance really was, there wasn't a bad performance in this entire episode. I thought everybody brought a great performance. Just certain things that happened that weren't always the best in terms of dialogue or delivery, which we'll get into a little bit later. But overall, just enjoyed everybody's performance in this final episode. And they finally come back from the abyss. They're escaping the Upside Down, and this is where it gets a little kind of controversial, or it's kind of interpreted the way you want to interpret it, where we have them destroying the Upside Down, but 11 seemingly is sacrificing herself to end the cycle the way Kali wanted it. But it gets a little weird towards the end, because Mike starts talking about how he thinks that Kali was using her powers to make an image of 11 in the Upside Down, showing her being killed as the wormhole is getting destroyed, while she was invisible and escaping and leaving off so that she can live her life without the worry of the military trying to look for her. I don't know. I'm still a little 50-50. I don't know which way to believe it, because it definitely felt like Mike was kind of making that self up so he can kind of cope more with the death of 11. And really, it kind of makes sense, but also doesn't make sense, because Kali got shot and she was bleeding out. So for her to be able to stay alive from when she got shot till when they escaped the Upside Down, that was a very long time. So I'm not sure how she would have still been alive, because people can bleed out very, very fast. So it's a little I don't know. It's very much up to your interpretation. I don't have a definitive answer or definitive viewpoint of whether or not Eleven escaped or did she actually sacrifice herself when the Upside Down was destroyed. But that is the last big death reveal or big death that happens in the show, whether or not you believe it actually happened or not. But beyond that, I think at this point, everything they escape, they go about their lives. It's 18 months later, the kids are graduating, and we're starting to see where every single person is at their life. And I thought this was just a very nice, beautiful moment, very much brought tears to my eyes. Where you have the kids graduating. Dustin had a very, very awesome moment in his valedictorian speech and kind of giving a little homage to Eddie. You have Joyce and Hopper that are deciding to move out of Hawkins, and Hopper proposes to Joyce. So I thought that was very amazing. You have kind of the four adult-ish kids where you have, Jonathan, Nancy, Robin, and Steve, who all live in different locations, but they make plans to see each other once a month, and they have a little, emotional moment as well, just reminiscing of everything that's happened. And one of my favorite parts of this whole episode of this whole show. So, as a little background, I love Dungeons and Dragons. I've loved Dungeons and Dragons before watching Stranger Things, and it's me and my friends. We play Dungeons and Dragons. We played Dungeons and Dragons for many, many years. We're still going through our own campaign, but seeing Mike, Will, Lucas, Max, Dustin finally complete their campaign and have this very emotional ending where Max talks shit to Mike saying, I thought you were this incredible storyteller and that's it, we just win and everyone's happy. But he goes person to person and speaking in Dungeons and Dragons terms, but actually speaking about the person that he's playing with, of where their life is going and how they're trying to move on and how they're trying to be happy and how everything is going to be okay even though everything they went through. And then you get Mike's story where you get this moment probably made me tear up the most is when after Mike tells everybody where their character is heading from here on out. You have Will kind of giving him the line, telling him, well, what about the storyteller? What does he get? What is his ending? And Mike kind of explained himself that he just keeps telling stories, and he can't tell the most forbidden story of essentially Eleven escaping. And that's where we kind of get the reveal where she might have escaped. It's not 100% clear, not 100% confirmed, but he chooses to believe that that is the story and that is the ending, because that way he feels a little bit more happy that she is out there somewhere safe. And I thought that was a very beautiful moment, a very nice moment. um and yeah, you see them put their books up, the campaign is over. You see Holly run down with her newfound friends and starting her own campaign. So I thought that was a very nice bookmark ending, leaves thing open for future stuff to happen. I think this is definitely something that I feel like in 10 years you could come back and kind of have a it kind of situation where these kids are all growing up. Holly's a little bit older and something is going on. Who knows what is going on, but something is going on. So overall, I thought this last episode was epic. It was emotional, great performances, great CGI, and it was a very, very nice book ending to this whole show. And I think the Duffer Brothers absolutely landed the plane. And I was very, very satisfied with this ending. And this definitely solidifies as one of the best shows of all time. I don't know how high it would be in my shows ranked, but this was definitely really, really amazing. I'm extremely satisfied and I'm very, very happy the way things went. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into my cons. And I really only have a few cons. One con being there was certain sequences and certain dialogue choices or deliveries that felt a little choppy and a little bit emotionless. And I felt like that came a lot from Eleven, where I feel like Eleven at this point, she speaks very fluently in English and very well, but they gave her moments where she still kind of had like that very like season 2 dialogue where it was very choppy and she didn't know how to really pronunciate her words or structure a sentence, where you have one sequence where she's like that, where she can't really, it seems like she has a very choppy line delivery, and then a couple sequences later she's having a very, very emotional heart to heart where she's speaking perfect English. So it was really weird how they We're switching up the dialogue and the delivery of certain characters. Another thing is the whole big Mind Flayer Kaiju battle. I think my biggest issue with it wasn't really that the Mind Flayer became into this one giant kaiju, but it was more so that that was such a crazy battle that no one even got hurt. It was a little pushing the suspension of disbelief, because you see this mind flayer stomping all over them, throwing rock everywhere, trying to, stab them, bite them, kill them, but none of them like even remotely got hurt a little bit. So that was probably one thing that was a little weird. Where yeah, you see the ginormous plot armor in that fight for sure. And I think lastly, um, my last complaint is what happened to the military. I think Dr. K was a useless character in this entire season. But what happened to them at the end? They get captured by the military right before 11 sacrifices herself. And are we supposed to believe that Dr. K was just like, okay, well, 11 is dead. We can't do anything much about that. Let these kids go. Let's pack up and go home. Maybe, who knows, maybe because that her whole plan was to get 11. There was nothing about the kids. The kids were just in her way. But it just seemed a little weird that we never got a conclusion with Dr. K or what happened to her, or where she's going, or if there's any indication that she's gonna still try to start the program up. So that was a little weird as well. But yeah, there wasn't really many negatives. It was very just small little nitpick things here and there, because I think this final episode was absolutely amazing and definitely was just so satisfying, and I was extremely happy with the entire episode as a whole. That is gonna be it for this one, guys. Let me know what you guys thought about Stranger Things season 5 finale in the comment section down below. Definitely love to hear you guys' thoughts. Join the conversation. I'm always here. I'm always gonna reply to all your comments as best as I possibly can. I appreciate every single like on my videos. I appreciate every single subscriber, every single comment, every single view. So definitely let me know what you guys thought about this finale in the comment section down below. And again, also happy New Year's. My rankings of the year will be coming out here pretty soon. I'll probably record a couple of them today and release them in the next coming days. But again, if you guys like time anything movie, TV show, video game related, or just anything nerdy, you are in the right place. Make sure that like and subscribe button. I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you.